People outside of the South have no idea what we do when it may snow. I will never get this. About 20 years ago, I was working in Atlanta. I was working with a buddy of mine. He was born and raised in L.A., and he knew nothing about the big bread phenomenon. It snowed in Atlanta about, I don't know, 6 inches. Shut the whole town down, as you can imagine. And he didn't believe me. I said, we got to go to the store. He's like, why? I go, we're walking. We got to go. It's all going to be gone, man. We got to go. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, do you want to eat this week? We got to go. So we finally got to Kroger, went to the bread aisle. Gone. Everything was gone except for 1 pack of hot dog buns. So I grabbed them. Because you never know. And that took me back to my childhood. Remember your mom be late? You have to go to school the next day with peanut butter jelly and a hot dog bun? You whip that at lunch, your buddy's going, man, you got a hot dog? No. That's just peanut butter and jelly and a hot dog bun. Like your mom was late. Like, shut up. You shut up, duh. You, duh. You. Duh, what a great word. Duh. Duh. That's a kid word. You can try as an adult, but it won't work. Try it. When you go to work tomorrow, show up like an hour late. Your boss goes, you're late. Go, duh. Well, now you're fired. Well, duh. My mom was always late with the bread, always trying to trick me, take those 2 end pieces, turn them inside out. Now, who's she fooling, man? I mean, one's normal size, the other one's like a cracker. She just folded. By the way, for you people that don't know me, my name is Henry Cho. And I am a full-blooded Korean. I was born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah. So I'm South Korean. I'm still the only guy on the planet that can do that joke, so there you go. Are there any Asian people in the crowd by chance? Clap if you're Asian. 4? That's about right. Okay. No, that's about right. That's my quota. There was some research done on audiences, me and about 6 or 7 other comedians. They're trying to find out our audience, so who to market to, and they found out that my audience is over 90% white. Because Asian people don't like me. Well, I was supposed to be a doctor. Or play the cello. I don't know. This is my 37th year doing stand-up. So when I started, I was thinking, I was the only guy doing it. And so they didn't want their kids watching me because they might try it. So, but thanks all 4 of y'all for representing my Asian community. My driver's license says I'm white. 16 years old, Knoxville, Tennessee. I go through the whole thing. I get to the end. There's only 2 boxes. The woman goes, well, you ain't black. So I've been white since I was 16. Still says I'm white. It's confusing at the airport. Guy's like, I'm like, dude, there are only 2 boxes. He goes, well, you ain't black. I gotta tell you what happened in Home Depot the other day. Okay. So we have a lake cabin,
It's not really a cabin, it's a shack. I call it a cabin. I'm doing a little work on it. Anybody know what you call the stuff you put in between the logs of the log cabin? Chink. So I go to Home Depot to buy some chink. Just hang on. Now, I don't know. We don't even think that way. I mean, why would we? I even told my wife, honey, I'm going to Home Depot to get some chink. She's like, well, get enough. You know, we don't care. It's actually called chinking, but we call it chink in the biz, and it's used on log cabins. And log cabins are here for Chinese people, so if you're Chinese, there's my disclaimer. I mean, I was just going to run in and grab the chink and run out. I can't find it. I have to ask for it. So I see a guy with an orange apron on, so I know he works there. And I know his name's Danny because it's Sharpied right there. Danny's kind of half turned in a box, and I'm like, hey, Danny, y'all got any chink? And Danny goes, no, man, we don't sell chink no more. I said, what do you mean you don't sell chink? It's Home Depot. I need a lot of chink. You got a just chink aisle, special place you keep the chink? No, sir. I said, well, can you ask somebody where I can find some chink? Yes, sir. Hey, Larry, we don't sell it. Any of that stuff you put in between logs, do we? Larry walks around going, no, man, we don't sell chink no more. What are you doing, sir? And I went, oh, wow. I'm going to go to Lowe's and do this again. I called my wife and I said, okay, think about what I came to get. Think a little harder. Had to ask for it. Hilarious. I'm going to Lowe's. Yeah, meet me there. Be fun. Come on. And she did. Brought a friend. Crazy. And now my boys are ruthless when we go to Home Depot. Ruthless, man. They know that story. We'll see you guy working there. Go, Dad, do it to him. Do it to him. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it. You're only half. It ain't going to work.
I learned how to surf since I moved out here. That's pretty cool. I love surfing. Surfing dudes are pretty stupid though, man. Because I'm just learning. They go, dude, you just like learning? I go, yeah. They go, you should start on a really big board. So I'm surfing on my garage door right now. Then they have the nerve to go, dude, what kind of board's that? I go, it's a genie board, man. Hey, don't push that button. I'll flip over. What are you doing? My garage door joke quick. Sharks scare me though. I'm scared of sharks because I've seen this on TV, man. Sharks will attack a surfer because you look like a seal to a shark after that poop. Because you're laying on your board, you got your arms, legs hanging off. From underneath, you look like a seal. So I got a picture of a seal with a red line drawn through it underneath my board. So it's been working so far. But y'all just won't give it up, will you? That's good. The sharks do scare me. I saw a shark scuba dive one time. I never saw one surfing because I would like freak out. But I did freak out when I saw one scuba dive. Because, you know, I'm like underwater, I'm like 40 feet under, just kind of screwing around. All of a sudden there's a shark. Man, it's really hard to make yourself look like coral, you know? It's like trying to coax fish to swim through my arm. And my buddies are looking at me like, what's going on? I'm like, well, right there. But you just can't go, shark, you know? So I'm trying to spell shark in Morse code with my eyes. I'm like...
So the other day, my wife and vasectomy were going to a wedding shower, and they were running late. Shocker. So I'm just kind of hanging out, and my wife comes in and goes, hey, Henry, present, here's a gift, and here's the wrapping paper. Do me a favor and wrap it. I said, okay, no problem. So I picked up the wrapping paper, and it was clear. It said clear, transparent. The tube was gray, so it looked gray, but it's clear. So I just wrapped it. She came out and goes, what is that? I go, I did exactly what you're doing. You want to text it to me? I'll tell you. Whatever. She goes, but that's clear. I go, that's what you bought. She goes, no, it's not. I said, says clear, transparent. She goes, that's false advertising. It says it clear, transparent. That's not false. They can't get away with that. Well, apparently they did. I don't know why you spent $20 on this. We have saran wrap laying right there. And she's like, what do I do? I go, I don't know. Take it like that. It'll be funny. She came back later. Wasn't funny? I said, well, maybe I should have taken it. I'm a pro. So now here's I told her, I said, okay, here's the deal. Since we used it and we can't take it back, the next 5 gifts you have to wrap has to come from that roll. She's like, I'm not doing it. I go, I'll do it. Because we have some other weddings coming up. And you're going to be the clear wrapping paper girl. She goes, why are you making me do this? I go, because it's funny. No one's gladder than I am that I'm touring again. You know, I was shut down for 1.5 years. Yeah, that was tough. Because I've toured my entire marriage. And then I was home for 1.5 years. I love my family, but not every day. I don't know how y'all do it. After 3 days, my wife was like, you got to get out of here. So I did. I moved to the basement and made my kids bring me room service. There's another pandemic. I'm getting it. I don't care. So anyway, no, I'm back touring again. It's great. And I'm a lucky traveler. I figured this out years ago. I was the last plane out of Bangor, Maine, right before that big blizzard. Last plane out. Before that, I was the last plane out of Orleans, right before Katrina. More recently, last plane out of Tampa, right before Irma. So just so y'all know, I'm leaving here tomorrow. I'd head out during the daylight. So yeah, I was in Cashiers where they play croquet and whites. Cashiers? Sorry. Oh, look, you're wearing white. So I was watching a croquet match today. Well, not really watching, okay? I was eating lunch. And then people past us were playing croquet. And a couple old guys got in a little argument, which I didn't know could happen in a croquet match. And I'm sitting there just looking at it going, I don't get this. And my buddy's like, well, what don't you get? I go, well, I get it. It's not for me. He goes, what? I go, I'm not white. And I don't own white. So I don't know why you would even play this game. He goes, you never played? I go, yeah, when I was 9. But they're 90. And they're arguing about it. So anyway, saw croquet. Okay. Cashiers. Is it Cashiers or Cashiers? That's what I said.
If you're enjoying this, please hit like and subscribe. We're grateful for every single one of you watching. Tell us in the comments where in the world you're joining us from tonight. Now, let's get into it. There was a stretch of time when Lydia and I looked like the couple everyone wished they could be. Both of us chasing our careers, always put together. The type of pair who booked dinner reservations weeks in advance and raised a glass to every little win. But underneath that shiny exterior, I had already started feeling something colder settle between us, a distance that crept in slowly, like a draft under a door. I noticed it first in the quiet. She stopped telling me about her day. Her laugh grew fainter whenever I walked into a room. I'd come home from work with grease still on my hands and tiredness written all over my face, and she'd barely glance up from her phone, offering a smile that never made it to her eyes. Our lives had drifted onto separate paths. Hers was full of client dinners, business trips, and the glow of a screen at midnight. Mine was takeout containers and the low hum of the television. I wasn't blind to it. I'd caught the signs. New outfits appearing out of nowhere, sudden work functions, and once, a cologne I didn't own, faint but unmistakable, clinging to her scarf. I chose not to confront her. Not yet. Because sometimes staying quiet says far more than shouting ever could. That Friday night, I made her favorite meal like I always did, salmon with garlic and lemon butter. 9 o'clock came and went. No call, no message, just my phone lighting up out of nowhere with her name attached. Running late tonight, dinner with clients. Don't wait up. A small red heart sat at the end of the message, the same heart she used to send back when we still felt like us. Except this time, it didn't read as affection. It read like a taunt. I sat back in my chair, staring at 2 full plates across an empty table. Clients, sure. The very same ones she complained about that morning over breakfast, the ones who didn't understand marketing at all. I let a slow, bitter smile spread across my face and typed back, "No problem. Enjoy the lobster, and tell Chris I still want my shirt back." Seconds later, my phone buzzed. 1 missed call, then another, then another. I let it ring itself out. I wanted her to sit with that feeling, the panic that creeps in the moment a mask starts slipping. When the calls finally stopped, I opened my photo gallery and let my thumb hover over an album labeled June Conference. Inside were images she had no idea I'd seen. A hotel lobby, dinner shots, one frame where Chris's hand rested just a little too close on the back of her chair. I'd taken those 2 weeks earlier, quietly and carefully, because deep down I already knew there was no client dinner waiting for her that night. And tonight, she was finally going to learn I wasn't the fool she assumed I was. Her calls cut off after the 4th ring. I watched the screen go dark, her name dissolving into blackness, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. Betrayal doesn't always arrive as an explosion. Sometimes it leaks out slowly, one message, one lie at a time, until eventually it's pooled around your feet, and you realize you've been standing in it the whole while. I poured myself a glass of water, leaned against the kitchen counter, and waited. Not for her. For the truth to finish making its way through the front door. Lydia finally walked in past midnight, her heels striking the hardwood floor like gunfire. I didn't move. She froze the second she spotted me. Her hair was a little disheveled, her perfume too heavy, her eyes wide the way someone's get when they're rehearsing innocence in real time. "Mark, you're still up?" she said, voice soft, setting her purse down carefully. "Couldn't sleep," I answered, my tone even. "Big dinner, huh?" She hesitated, forcing a weary smile.
"Yeah."
Client flew in from Chicago. Ran longer than we expected. I nodded like I believed every word. "Lobster. Good." Her head jerked slightly. "What?" "The lobster," I repeated, holding her gaze. "Was it good?" "I hear Chris has expensive taste." The color drained straight out of her face. "Mark." I stood up, unhurried, deliberate. "Relax. I'm not accusing you of anything," I said, walking past her calmly. "Just, next time, tell Chris he can keep the shirt. Doesn't fit me anymore anyway." Her lips parted, but nothing came out. I left her standing there, guilt written across every feature of her face, and walked into the guest room. The door closing behind me felt like a verdict. The next morning she acted as if nothing had happened, made pancakes, put on cheerful music, kissed my cheek on her way out the door, as though she hadn't spent half the night staring at the ceiling. But her hands shook while she poured her coffee, and her laughter came out hollow. I said nothing about the texts, the photos, or the email from a coworker that had landed in my inbox by accident the week before, an internal memo referencing a client trip that never existed. Instead, I spent that entire day quietly building a plan. Revenge, I decided, wasn't about rage. It was about patience and precise timing. I started collecting evidence. Screenshots of deleted messages. Credit card statements for business dinners that always somehow included 2 entrees. The conference photos she had no idea I'd saved. By Thursday, I had everything I needed. Then I made one last call to Chris Holden's wife, Emily. She sounded worn down, her voice thin with suspicion even before I explained who I was. "I had a feeling," she whispered once I told her. "He's been different lately." We agreed to meet, not out of spite toward each other, but for clarity. We both needed to understand exactly how deep this went. When I showed her the pictures, Lydia and Chris laughing over dinner, her hand brushing along his sleeve, Emily's eyes filled with quiet, burning tears. He told me he was in Houston that night, she said. Lydia told you Chicago. Guess neither of them can read a map, I replied. We both laughed, though it wasn't really joy. It was the exhausted kind of laughter that comes from finally facing a truth you've been avoiding for too long. Emily studied me for a long moment. What are you going to do? She asked. I exhaled slowly. I'm not sure yet, but I'm not going to scream, and I'm not going to break anything. She wanted a double life. I'm going to make sure she finds out exactly what that costs. That night, Lydia came home early, hair pulled back, makeup gone, trying hard to appear normal. Hey, she said gently. Can we talk? I nodded, settling back onto the couch.
Sure.
About what? She fidgeted with her ring, feigning confusion. About us. You've seemed distant, like something's changed. I let a faint smile cross my face. Something has. My eyes opened fully to meet hers, and her face went pale. Mark, I don't know what you think you saw. Oh, you mean the dinners? The late-night texts. The shirt he left behind in our laundry basket last month. My voice stayed level, but every word landed like a hammer blow. Tears welled in her eyes. It's not what you think. It was just, I swear it just happened. I didn't plan it. I looked at her for a long stretch of silence. No one ever does. For the following week, I played my part perfectly, normal, affectionate, calm. The devoted husband, once again. She believed my forgiveness was genuine. She even started smiling more, cooking again, reaching for my hand. But every smile from me was really a countdown. Behind the scenes, I'd already met with our lawyer. The house, the joint accounts, the shared investments, every asset was quietly being documented and moved. I wasn't out to destroy her. I was simply going to let her destroy herself. She'd wanted freedom. I intended to hand her every bit of it. When her next client trip came up, I kissed her forehead, carried her suitcase to the door, and told her, "Have fun. You deserve it." She smiled, relieved, convinced she'd fooled me all over again. But this time, I wasn't staying home because I'd booked a flight of my own to the very same city. And by the following night, Lydia and Chris would learn that the man they believed was broken had quietly become their reckoning. The airport smelled like burnt coffee and jet fuel, a combination I'd grown far too familiar with from years of business travel. Except this time, I wasn't flying for work, I was flying for closure. Lydia's itinerary hadn't been hard to find. She'd left it half sticking out of her briefcase, careless as always. Chicago, 2 nights, business meetings. Same story as before. I booked myself onto the same flight, seated in a different section, close enough to keep watch, far enough to stay invisible. She boarded first, glowing, in a new dress and heels far too tall for a work trip, phone fused to her hand, eyes flicking around like she was waiting on a message. I watched her scroll, smile faintly at something, then tuck the phone away just before the cabin door sealed shut. She had no idea I was sitting 4 rows behind her. Once we landed, she didn't even head toward her hotel. From a careful distance, I watched her meet Chris Holden right outside the terminal. His greeting was far too familiar for anything professional. She touched his arm, laughed the same laugh that used to belong only to me. They climbed into a black sedan together. My hands balled into fists, but I kept my composure. Revenge was never about making a scene in public. It was about precision. I trailed them in another car, keeping my distance. They pulled up to an upscale hotel downtown. He helped her out with his hand lingering briefly on her waist, and I took the photo. Clear, unhurried, perfectly timed. Then another as they checked in together under Mr. and Mrs. Holden.
Proof. Truth.
Justice. All of it captured through a camera lens. That night, I checked into the same hotel, 3 floors below theirs. I didn't sleep.
I didn't eat.
I just waited. At sunrise, I sent everything, every photograph, every receipt, every timestamp, to Emily Holden, Chris's wife. No message attached. The images spoke for themselves. Within the hour, she called. He's still asleep next to her, she said quietly. Not for long. You're sure about this? I asked. Her voice didn't waver. He made his bed. Let him wake up in it. I respected her courage. We were two people who'd been fed the same kind of lie for far too long. Later that morning, I sat in the hotel cafe, ordered coffee, and waited by the window. It didn't take long. Lydia came rushing through the lobby, phone pressed to her ear, panic all over her face. She spotted me and froze mid-step, mouth falling open. Mark, she whispered, crossing toward me. What are you doing here? I took a slow sip of coffee. Just visiting Chicago. You? Her eyes darted nervously. This isn't what you think. I cut in with a quiet laugh. Really? Because I think you're about to check out early. She blinked, confused, until her phone buzzed. She glanced down and I watched her read it, a message preview from Emily. I hope you two enjoyed your stay. Her hand began to shake. What did you do? She whispered. Nothing you didn't do first, I said. You wanted to lie to everyone, fine. Now the truth gets to lie right beside you. Tears filled her eyes. Mark, please. We can fix this. I made a mistake. I leaned forward. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary, Lydia. You built an entire second life. The lobby around us had gone quiet, the usual hum of conversation fading into something heavy and still. Her voice cracked. You can't just ruin everything. I didn't, I said. You did. I just gave the world front row seats. She followed me outside, desperate, her eyes red and swollen. Mark, wait. I still love you. I turned to face her, my voice cold but controlled. Love doesn't hide in hotel rooms, Lydia. It stays home. It shows up. It fights for you when things get hard. I was lost, she said, shaking. I didn't mean to. Don't. I cut her off. Don't make this sound like an accident. You chose every single moment of it. For a second, she just stood there, breathing hard, mascara running down her cheeks. People nearby glanced over, but no one said a word. I reached into my jacket and pulled out an envelope, handing it to her. Here, I said. What is this?
Freedom, I answered.
Signed divorce papers. Effective immediately. Her face went white. You already filed last week, I told her plainly, while you were too busy playing house with Chris. She opened the envelope with trembling hands and saw her own signature sitting neatly beside mine, a signature she'd given months earlier on a blank form for what she thought were tax updates. I'd used it quietly, legally,
Perfectly.
This isn't fair, she cried. I met her eyes one final time. Fairness ended the moment you looked at him the way you used to look at me. And then I walked away. By the time she made it home, the locks had already been changed, the joint accounts closed, and her company's HR department had quietly received anonymous documentation of her relationship with a client, sent from an untraceable address. Nothing malicious. Just facts. The truth tends to do plenty of damage entirely on its own. A week later, word reached me that she'd been transferred to another branch, alone this time. No Chris, no friends by her side. As for me, there was no celebration, no drinking to it. I simply sat on my porch, watching the sun go down, letting peace slowly take the place where anger used to live. Betrayal can leave a man bitter, or it can make him wiser. I chose the second path. As the wind drifted softly through the trees, I said quietly to myself, you can rebuild anything, once the lies are gone. 2 weeks passed. The house that once rang with laughter and music now held a kind of hush I'd come to appreciate. Those early mornings felt strange. I kept catching myself setting out 2 cups before remembering there was no one left to pour for. But the ache faded with time. I cleared out everything that reminded me of Lydia, photos, clothes, perfume, but I kept one frame on the mantel. It wasn't of her. It was of me standing beside my late father, both of us covered in grease from working on an old truck. He told me something back then that I never fully understood until now. When someone breaks you, son, don't rebuild smaller. Rebuild stronger. That's exactly what I did. I threw myself into work, stayed late at the garage, and focused everything on rebuilding what Lydia had shattered. Word spread fast, the way it does in small towns, no keeping secrets there.
Some people pitied me.
Others admired how steady I'd stayed through the whole thing. But I didn't want pity. I wanted purpose. One evening after a long shift, I stopped at a small diner just off the highway. The kind of place where the lights hum softly and the waitress already knows your name before you sit down. That's where I met Claire. She was in her early 30s, warm smile, brown hair tied loosely back, a plain apron dusted with flour. When she poured my coffee, she noticed the exhaustion behind my eyes. "Rough day?" she asked. "Rough month," I admitted, managing a faint grin. She laughed softly. "Then you're due for something good." Her kindness wasn't loud or forced. It was quiet, effortless. She never asked for details, never pried at old wounds, and for the first time in a long while, I felt genuinely seen without being judged. We ended up talking for hours about cars, about life, about small dreams. She told me she was raising her younger brother after losing their parents, working 2 jobs just to keep him in school. There was a real strength in her voice, the kind that reminded me what true resilience actually looks like. When I left that night, she waved goodbye with a smile that stayed with me far longer than I expected. Days turned into weeks. Lydia called once. Only once. Her voice on the line was small, brittle. "Mark, I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I listened quietly as she explained how everything had unraveled. Chris had left her, her company had demoted her, and she was moving into a smaller apartment. "I never thought it would end like this," she said. "It ended the moment you stopped respecting what we had." I replied gently, "Take care of yourself, Lydia." And then I hung up. No yelling, no satisfaction, just peace, because the revenge had already done its job, not by hurting her, but by finally setting me free. Months later, I found myself driving past that same diner again. The sign still flickered the same way. The same song still played from the jukebox inside. Claire was behind the counter, wiping it down. She looked up, smiled, and said, "Back again, huh? Guess I missed the coffee." I laughed along, though it wasn't really the coffee I'd missed. It was the calm she carried, the warmth that reminded me life finds a way to bloom again, even after the worst storms. We talked until closing. When I walked her to her car, she said, "You look lighter than before." "Maybe that's what happens when you finally let go of ghosts," I said. She smiled. "Then don't look back." Not even once. Driving home that night, the city lights blurred softly in my rearview mirror, and for the first time in months, I felt no anger, no loss, no regret. I felt ready to begin again, because some endings aren't tragedies. They're invitations to rebuild. And this time, I wasn't rebuilding smaller. I was rebuilding stronger.